A couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to interview recruitment expert for the contact center industry, Barrie Brown from CCA Recruitment. Here, Barrie shares in a small snippet of the video what his thoughts are on the current climate, how contact centers are affected, how the recruitment partners should be helping contact centers, and a few bits more. Check out the video. Hope you find it useful.
The sheer speed of the mobilisation of the whole of the UK contact centre industry pretty much to work from home has been unbelievable to witness.
Absolutely unbelievable. I was speaking to some people just recently about how quickly they've managed to procure laptops, how much they've expanded the network, how they've trained people up en masse to use conferencing skills and facilities like Zoom and stuff like that. So it's a massive undertaking, and I've kind of been following some of it on like LinkedIn through some of the contacts that I've got and just seeing how people are changing to it, and it's phenomenal.
It's going to have massive impact on the industry moving forward, because a lot of the kind of naysayers have been saying kind of, no, it's not going to work, we can't do it, but actually it's shown that we can. And I think then it's going to be a case of, right, what is the balance? Because people are going to want to evidence that they're giving people the option to work from home, but it isn't right for everyone. So, you know, I think there will become an equilibrium where the balance of, right, let's offer this as something to appease people, or not to appease, but to help people. There's a business benefit because the bricks and mortar buildings can be reduced in size and requirement. And, you know, it might get to the point where we're looking at a 60-40 kind of split, something like that. Who knows?
And you know, the area that I think is the biggest advantage, and where I think we're potentially going to see some huge gains in the contact center space, is around those evening work patterns and having more flexible shifts to accommodate people between the 5 till 8 shift, or the kind of the unsociable hours where people don't necessarily want to come into an office, but would be quite prepared to do that shift, and maybe even extend opening hours out a little bit later because they've not got the commute back home and things like that. So I think there'll be an interesting dynamic at play once people have really fully understood the concept of home working, remote working, and how they can then make it a more sustainable approach to the contact center regime.
Absolutely, and let's face it, we are working from home at the moment, but it's enforced working. It isn't working from home through choice, or because the business has made a decision that actually the circumstances suit their work patterns and work styles at the moment. But we've seen numerous different organisations make it work.
Yeah,
I think from our side, you know, we've worked with a number of clients over the years where we've created work from home teams for them. So it's been positive for us in that sense, that we've got that track record and an understanding of what works and what doesn't. I think where people have mobilised their workforces to work from home, I think it'll be interesting to see over the next couple of weeks as the honeymoon period starts to wear off, just how performance maintains. We've certainly spoken to a lot of businesses where they've actually seen an improvement in performance as people have moved to work from home. I just wonder whether or not that is going to maintain, and that's where the really hard work, I think, is going to come in when, you know, we're 3, 4, 6 weeks into this. You know, we don't know how long this is going to last for at the end of the day. So
and I think it's a massive cultural shift for call center managers, call center leaders, to start to adopt different ways of working and different ways of communicating with their staff members, their employees, and kind of understanding what the balance needs to be in that hands-on micromanagement versus giving people enough trust and enough empowerment to be able to do the job for themselves from a distance.
Completely. And you know, there is a big trust element to this, but also we've got to think about the people that it isn't going to work for. You know, there's certainly examples within our business where, you know, some of the team are finding it really difficult. You know, they're so used to working in a really social, physical work environment that actually it's tough for them, not, you know, coming out of their routine and coming out of the environment that they really enjoy working within to something that's been forced upon them. You know, it's different. We're going to be in this situation for another 6 weeks or whatever, and then there's talk of, you know, if there's a flashback and we're back in lockdown again at another point in time, then we have to think about what the ongoing solutions are. And there's lots of people that talk a lot around mobilizing systems, but actually, what about the people stuff? There is a lot of businesses out there that have never recruited remotely, never onboarded anyone remotely, and never trained anyone remotely. And these are all things that are going to have to come into the work environment to effectively ensure that those contact centres are going to operate ongoing.
That's a really good point that you just made there, Barry, around remote interview skills, remote interview techniques, and how managers can be equipped to have remote interviews over either Zoom or other conferencing facilities. What would you say are some of the kind of the things that people are going to need to adapt to in that process? Because some people already do it, I would imagine, but I think this is going to be new for a lot of people in that whole online recruitment process.
Do you mean from an interviewer or an interviewee?
I suppose it's from both dynamics, actually. As the interviewer, how would you change your approach? And any tips for people going through that process now that might be the interviewee? What could they expect?
I think from an interviewer perspective, the thing that you've got to be very conscious of is that through video interviews, there is a lot of external stimuli that you lose in actually making your assessment of that individual. So if you think about when you interview someone face to face, there is usually a period of, you know, they're maybe sat in reception. You go and pick that individual up from your reception. You see how they are observing what's going on. You see how they carry themselves walking through, how confident they are, nervous, and actually as an interviewer, sometimes you'll actually adjust how you carry yourself through the interview based on those initial parts. And I also find that with video conferencing, that period of kind of small talk as you are going through, a lot of the time with video interviewing, you get straight into it. You know, there's a lot less informality around a video interview, which I always coach people to interview to understand what is the best that you can see from someone. And if you don't have that period of actually warming up and building some kind of rapport with that individual as a candidate, actually you're not going to necessarily see the best of them. You know, if I'm hiring someone from my team, I want to know that they're a superstar. I'm not going to be sat there trying to trip them up and kind of almost screen them out from the process. I want to screen in the best people. And if you're not going to get that from people who are slightly nervous because they haven't done a video interview previously, they're not quite sure how everything works, then, you know, you've got to do your best to put those people at ease, because you could miss out on a superstar. So I think that's a really important part for me. There's a number of other things that are really important as well around having, stable technology infrastructure, but also being able to also being able to make sure that you're getting the right information from those individuals. And I know that may sound as though it's a basic interview thing, but ultimately, because you're not getting that same level of communication from those people through body language, through other forms of communication, sometimes you'll miss things. Sometimes you'll see triggers in someone because of the way that they're twitching their feet or whatever it may be. So actually you've got to really listen and process the answers that person is giving you. You'll know this from your various kind of sales presentations that you do, but in terms of active listening and really thinking about what your potential customer has said to you before going back, I think that's really important from an interviewer. Is really, I guess, to surmise that, is practice your interviewing skills and techniques, practice your questioning techniques, practice your active listening, and really process those. Don't just kind of go, okay, these are the tick box questions that I need. It is really fine-tuning those techniques and the details so that you're getting the information that you really need to make a decision. Is this the person that we want to, and whether it be a frontline role or whether it be a management stroke senior management hire, you've got to go through those processes.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important point, because actually you can't necessarily read people in the same way that you would in a face-to-face interview, can you? And you don't necessarily want to, just because of the medium of video, you don't want to hold back and probe further into some of those questions that you would, because I suppose there might be a tendency to go down a slightly different route because it's video, rather than spend a little bit more time, ask a few more probing questions, and really get under the skin if they're the right candidate or not.
Yeah, exactly. So looking at it from the other perspective, this is a whole new world for most candidates. There is a very small percentage of the population that has ever done a video interview. We might be used to it in a management capacity where we may have video conferences with peers across the globe, but actually if you think from frontline upwards, the percentage of people that have had the experience of an interview is very few people. And let's face it, you judge your perceived success of an interview based on the feedback that you get from the person that you're being interviewed by. You don't have that, and you can't, like me, so I'm trying to practice a lot looking into the camera. I know that my attention wanders. You hold eye contact in an interview, and I've been talking to you and trying to keep eye contact with you, but I forget that actually my eye contact with you is in the camera, not actually looking at your face. So it's things like that that are really, really important. And that's a kind of keep it. Just going back a step, there was a bit that I didn't touch on, which I think is really important. If you're interviewing to hire someone on video at the moment, a lot of businesses rely on the environment, the working environment, to kind of the brand, the culture of an organization, to actually sell their opportunity to a candidate. You lose all of that through a video conference. You don't have that. And okay, it might be a work from home job, and if it's going to be 100% work from home, that's one thing. But as an interviewer, you do have to really work hard to make sure that you're selling your organization to those individuals. If you don't do that, you're not going to get the cream of the crop that everyone wants within that team.
Yeah, and I suppose there's a lot of pressure on candidates to decide from a video conferencing interview as to whether or not you're the right company, you're the right fit, you're the right culture, if they've not seen the inside and outs of your organization.
Exactly. I mean, we've seen and worked with a number of clients recently since the whole CV19 thing kicked off, where they've had to mobilise significant headcount, primarily in the outsourcing space, at rapid pace. Now, a lot of the individuals that have gone into those roles are kind of taking roles because they want to, well, because they need to more than anything. I think as we start to see this as the new normal, that's going to change fairly significantly. And at which point, when you're having to compete with a number of different organisations to get that candidate to sign up with you specifically, that's going to be quite difficult for some people to adjust to doing video interviewing. I think as we come out of this, we've got to be very clear around what the proposition is that people are coming back into work to do. You know, there is going to need to be flexibility, because they may start an opportunity working from home, and they may then end up having to go back into a bricks and mortar office. So, and certainly a number of our clients have asked us for work from home agents, but who are within a proximity to where their bricks and mortar offices are. And look, none of us have got a crystal ball, so we don't know what's going to happen. You know, we might come off of lockdown in next week, 6 weeks, whenever it be, but we may then end up going back into a lockdown in 6 months' time if there is a resurgence in the virus. So I think the thing that we all have to do with candidates is work hard to be straight down the line when it comes to expectations. You know, what are our expectations? What do we think is likely to happen? Because what's happened this time around is we've seen a number of people who have been disadvantaged because they've quit their jobs to go to another role, but actually at that point their role has been cancelled and offers have been rescinded, etc. So we've worked with clients to try and get a good outcome for all parties, but because of the way things have fallen, some of those people aren't eligible for furlough, etc. And that's really tough. I think the only thing that we can do moving forward is take the right approach to people, set expectations right, and just be absolutely clear about what plans would be if things happen again. And that's I think the number one thing is treat those people right. Keep in touch. I can't stress enough that I think mental well-being during this time period and being aware of what the impact is for your people, I think is absolutely the kind of number one and most important thing. We're in an enforced situation here that no one has ever experienced previously. You know, I have my own challenges with a newborn in the background and stuff like that. You know, we're not in the perfect work from home scenario. We're not kind of as far as I can tell, everyone is taking every step that they can to do the best that they can. Yeah. Just remember that, you know, it's people. We're trying to do what we can to make keep the world turning at the end of the day. So that's the thing for me is just remember that.
Yeah, I think everybody's got their own individual circumstances, haven't they? And as managers, sometimes in the conventional world, you'd be quick to kind of jump and support on people. So carry on that same ethos and just understand that people are going through different situations, different circumstances, and treat each case as it comes, I think.
Yeah,
absolutely. Brilliant. Barrie, that has been hugely valuable. I've taken some really great insights from that, and hopefully for people that will be listening when I post this on social media, it will be of huge value to them too. It's been great chatting to you again. I've not spoken to you in a while, so
it has been a while.
Shame it takes a global pandemic to get people chatting sometimes, but we should definitely catch up when we're all allowed to see each other again.
Yes, absolutely. When the pub's open.
Yes, when the pub's open. Yeah, call it. Forget coffee. Like when the pub's open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
So, cheers, Gary. Good to hear from you.
Take care, mate. Good to hear from you too.
Bye.
Take care. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.